Good morning, everyone. Daf Kuf Chaf Aleph Amud Bet 121b, about 11. Actually, we're going to start from 12 lines up. Omar of Abba Bakahana. The Abba Bakahana said, "Pamachat nafal echad bebeit midrash." A snake fell once in the Beit HaMidrash. Ve'amad neyoti echad, and there was a neyoti, guy from Nayot, his place, and Vada go and he killed the snake. Amar Rabbi, paga bo kayotze bo. The one that met up with the snake is just like him. So what did he mean? Was that a kind thing to say? Was that a sharp thing? Was that a musar? Was that good? Ibaylu, paga bo kayotze bo. The shapir of it? Or no? Was his intention that he did a good thing? Meaning, you pursued the snake just like the snake pursued others. So you were like him, and you did a great thing by killing him. Or he was saying, no, you're like a snake. You're just like him, meaning you did something that was not a good thing. So, now this seemingly was not a dangerous snake, not the one that the Breita said before, Nachash Eretz Yisrael. And then for sure you would be able to kill it on Shabbat.
Oh, Shabbat?
Yeah. Yeah. It has to be. Otherwise, yeah, what was the... Yeah. That was the whole story. Otherwise, why not? The question is, Shabbat-wise, and it wasn't the really dangerous snake. So the question is, and we said yesterday that... Oh, so that's the shaila exactly. What is he doing? So Toshma the Rabbi Breid Rabbi Chia Barabba Rabbi Zera have Yosef killed the Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Breid Rabbi Chia Barabba and Rabbi Zera were sitting at the entrance to Rabbi Yanai's home. Nafak milta b'meid nayu. Words started coming from them. Bo minim Rabbi Yanai, and they started talking Torah. And they asked Rabbi Yanai, Mahu l'hareg nechoshem v'akram b'Shabbat. What's the halacha? Are you allowed to kill snakes and scorpions that are not dangerous on Shabbat? And they're not chasing a person. I kill a wasp. For sure a snake and a scorpion. So from this story we see that Rabbi Yanai, which was a Talmud of Rebbe, and he was in his Beit Din, obviously we see what his Rebbe held, that it was a good thing that he killed this, because you're allowed to kill him on Shabbat. So when he said, you're like the snake, meaning the snake came to kill, or the snake is an animal that does kill, and you acted like him and you pursued him to kill him. Very good. So the Gemara says, Dilma lefi tumo. Maybe Rabbi Yanai only allows you to kill the mazdikim on Shabbat when you're walking lefi tumo. Lefi tumo means according to your way. And it happens to be that they're walking right in front of you, so then you don't have to go out of your way. You could just continue walking right on top of them. You know, like especially in Florida, we have that all the time. That would be a little bit of a different case because they're not dangerous at all. But if you walk on the sidewalk, there's hundreds of lizards going down. It's like a highway. Sometimes you have to go like that. You almost step on one, right? So that's Ramish this thing. You don't have to go out of the way. So you could just continue walking on them, even though they're going to die through your walking. But he never meant to say that you're allowed to just go ahead and walk over and kill them, like this Nayoti did. The Omer Rav Yehuda, because Rav Yehuda taught, Rok dosa lefi tumo. If there's saliva on the ground, you're allowed to walk normally, and even though normally if you if you smooth out the ground with water, that's part of the Isser of Boneh, here you don't have to stop, because you're not trying to smooth out the ground. And since it's kind of repulsive to have that on the ground, therefore you're allowed to step on it and get rid of it. The Amar of Sheshet, Nachash dosa lefi tumo. Nachash you could step lefi tumo. The Amar of Katina, Akav dosa lefi tumo. So therefore, maybe everything is lefi tumo. Now, Meaning to say, the Gemara is really saying over here as follows: that when Rabbi Yanai says you're allowed to kill all these things, that's when you don't have any kavanah to kill them. And Rashi takes care of the problem that it's not a psik. What do you mean? You don't have kavanah. It's a psik ratio. You're going to for sure kill it. Not true. You're not for sure going to kill it. You're walking, and it's in your way, so you're going to step on it. If it dies, it dies. If it doesn't die, it's not for sure going to die. You're not mitchaven. Now, you're also, it's a malacha she'ena tzricha legufa. You're not doing it for itself because you're not creating anything that benefit for yourself. You're just removing harm. So Rashi says that even according to Rabbi Yehuda, that holds that a davar malacha she'ena tzricha legufa, yichayiv, here it's going to be mutter according to Rabbi Yehuda because you're not mechaven. And even though Rabbi Yehuda holds that when you're not mechaven, it's still asur. He says, Rashi, that Rabbi Yehuda only holds like that midrabanan, but midoraita it's not a problem. Even according to Rabbi Yehuda, the famous Rabbi Yehuda holds isur to do she'ena mechaven. He only holds that midrabanan. And here the Rabbanan are not going to make an isur when you she'ena mechaven, since we're talking about killing potentially harmful creatures for the world, which is a good thing, and therefore they never made an isur d'Rabbanan. But it has to be, so the Gemara is saying, but that has to be all with no kavanah, lefi tumo, but not going over to it and killing it. So therefore, you don't have a proof that from what Rabbi Yana, even though he was a Talmud of Rebbe, that when Rebbe said, that the neyoti was like the snake, that he was saying a good thing. Because perhaps Rebbe never allowed the neyoti to do what he did, which was to directly go over and kill the snake. Fine. There's a Yerushalmi, down, that does, so therefore we don't even know what Rebbe meant. The Bavli doesn't say. We just thought he meant good, and then we said it's not a proof. Yerushalmi actually brings Rebbe down as you say something not good, which means like Rabbi Yana is the way we explained Rabbi Yana at the end was correct. It's only lefi tumah you're allowed to do it, not directly. Abba bar Marta dehu Abba bar man Yumi. Abba bar Marta was his mother, Martha. Umin Yumi was his father. Have a maskebe roish kedusa zuzi. He borrowed money from the head of the diaspora. They brought him, they grabbed him, and they started to harm him, they started to torture him, so he should have to pay. There was saliva on the floor, and it was Shabbat. What you should do is take a keli and put it over the saliva. So, why? Why did the Reish Kalusa say that? Because you have to, I don't know if they were torturing him terribly, but they were bothering him. So he said, the roik is muktzah, and it was in a place where people don't usually hang out. So therefore, you don't have the heter. We say when there's something really, really repulsive, even though it's muktzah, but if it's in your way, it's where people reside, then you can move it because it's the Chachamim allowed because of Graf Sharei. Here you didn't have that heter because it was in a place that wasn't so, it was a little to the side. So it's muktzah. So therefore, he said you can't move it. So how are you going to remove its repulsiveness? Cover it over with a keli. That's what the Reish Galusa said. So Amar Lahusa Abba bar Marta said, so you don't need to do so. Okay, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, roik dois lefi tumah. Because Rabbi Yehuda taught that saliva that's on the ground, you're allowed to step directly on it if it's the way that you're walking. When the Rosh HaGoyla heard this, Amlu Tzuv mit Abbananu Shivku. He's a Talmud Chacham. Let go of him. So it's a little bit of an interesting. It's a little bit of an interesting case because they're trying to make him pay on Shabbat. They brought him over. They want to make him pay today on Shabbat. They asked this kasha here. Fine. Let's go weiter. Amr Rabbi Abba Bar Kahana, Amr Rabbi Chanina. Pamoitos shall beis Rabbi mutal tatal b'Shabbat. These are candelabras that were made out of one piece. So we know you're not allowed to move a candelabra that's made out of a bunch of pieces that are assembled together, because if it breaks, you're going to reassemble it. You're going to make a keli on Shabbat, like we said before. But you're allowed to move these. They're kelim that are used for isur, for lighting. But you're allowed to move them if they're in your way, litzorech mikoma or litzorech gufo. You need to use it for something. Amalur Reb Zera benitolim biyodoi achas or b'shtei yodayim. Are we talking about the small little ones that you can move with one hand, so they're movable? Or even the large ones that you need two hands? The large ones, we usually don't move it around at all because they're very heavy. So usually a person sets a permanent spot for them because they're huge, big, heavy things. Doesn't like to move them around. Therefore, that might render them muktzah. Okay? Now, why are we speaking about muktzah suddenly over here? It's a very nice introduction. Well, next parak is going to be muktzah, but the reason is because it's going to speak about the psakim of Rabbi Abba Bar Kahana, which we just spoke about, so therefore we want to bring other psakim from this Amora as well. So Reb Zera said, Reb Zera asked this question. So the Gemara, so he said, so Rabbi Abba Bar Kahana answered him, like the ones of your father's home, which were small. But the large ones are asur, they're actually very muktzah. We had this before. And the wagons of the household of Rebbe you're allowed to move on Shabbat. These are the little wagons that you can that one person could take, or the large ones. You need two people. According to Rashi, it means small ones, not large ones, because they're too heavy. Rabbi Chanina, from the house of Rebbe, was matir the house of Rebbe to drink wine that was brought in the wagons of Goyim, but it had one seal. And I don't know if the reason is that he holds like Rabbi Eliezer, because Rabbi Eliezer holds that one seal is enough. It means if you have a seal and you know that the guy didn't open it up and serve it to his Avodah Zarah, or use it or shake around for the Avodah Zarah, or imishum aim said the Beinasiyah, or maybe one seal is not enough. But or he's worried about the fact that the kingdom set Rebbe to be the Nasi in Eretz Yisrael, and the Goy is very, very nervous to play around with one seal. He's not going to switch it around and use it for a different thing. He's nervous. So therefore, but normally if the guy is not nervous, because he's not playing around with the Nasi, with his family, with the Rebbe's family, which is the Nasiim that was set by the kingdom of the Goyim, then maybe the guy will fiddle around with it even if there's one seal, and you need two simonim normally. That was the Gemara's Shaila. They didn't know. Okay, now we begin the sugya of Amira La'akum. Amira La'akum is you're not allowed to tell a guy to do a malacha for you on Shabbat. Besides the fact you're not allowed to tell a guy to do a malacha for you on Shabbat, you're also not allowed to benefit from what a guy does for you on Shabbat, even though you didn't tell it to him. Why? Why not? Because I didn't tell him to do anything, and he doesn't have to keep any Shabbat. He can do whatever he wants. So what that he did it for me? So he did it for me. So I got lucky. It's my lucky day. I didn't even have to tell him, and he did it for me. The answer is, the Chachamim said you're not allowed to benefit from an act that a guy does for you on Shabbat. Because if you do, then you'll come to ask him next time. You say, well, I was allowed to do it. I was allowed to use it. So next time, it was such a good week when the cleaning lady... So this week, she forgot to do it for us. So this week, I'm just going to say, remember last week? Do me a favor, do it again. Therefore, you're going to be over on Amir La'akum. Amir La'akum itself is Asur, partially because it creates... One of the reasons the Rishonim say is because it makes the whole Shabbat very weekday. Basically, you can end up doing all the malachot, just use your guy. Right? I can't drive, so drive me. I can't turn on the lights. I can't cook, so you cook. Okay, well, that'll be a shelf, bishalakim, whatever it is, but I can't do 100 things, so you do it. I can't plant, so you plant. So basically, you could end up using your whole Shabbat, and then the whole sanctity of Shabbat is out the window. That's one reason. And the question is how the Chachamim set it up, either because it's a shliach ledvar aveira, he's your shliach, so it's like you're doing it. Okay. Or v'daber dover, there's another isser of v'daber dover, because you're speaking about things that are asur. All these issues, now there would be like nafkaminas in these reasons, if let's say you tell them before Shabbat. You tell them, listen, Maria, on Shabbat do this. So v'daber dover, you weren't over, it was Friday when you spoke like that. Shlichus would be a problem. Sanctity would be a problem. If you tell him on Shabbat to do it after Shabbat. So v'daber dover is a problem. But shlichus is not a problem there. Because he's not doing it on Shabbat, he's doing it after Shabbat. But, okay, so there are nafkaminas here. But that is the basic halacha. You're not allowed to tell a goy, and you're not allowed to benefit when a goy does something for you.
Let me ask you, you're a person that cleans your house and prepare for the week. She cleans on Saturday because she has to complete her job because that's what she does. She can't do that?
So, depends which types of things she's doing.
Whatever she needs to do to complete whatever she needs to clean or do. Folding clothes, if she wants to iron clothes, if she wants to... She chooses what she wants to do. You don't tell her. You just pair her. She chooses the days what she wants to do, when she wants to do it, and she does.
Iron clothing is a problem. Oh, she chooses what she wants to do, when she wants to do it.
Exactly.
I don't think it's mutter anyways. I don't know.
She doesn't cook, she doesn't do anything,
Yeah, but ironing is the same problem. Ironing is a real problem.
But she chose because she left clothes over for the day to iron. Maybe she doesn't iron on every Saturday. Maybe sometimes she does.
I know. I don't think ironing is mutter because she's doing it for you. You understand? Right, it's a big problem here. This is a very important halachas because people think that when they have a problem on Shabbat, what you do is you go to a goy. A lot of people that don't know the halachot, they say, "Oh, well, what are we going to do? Okay, let's go call a goy and tell the goy to do it." That is the isur. That is the problem. The problem is you're not allowed to tell the goy to do something. Now, are there ways that you could? Yes, there are. But you have to know the halachas well, back through thoroughly. Because, for example, if the lights go off in your home, black, can't have a meal. Well, there might be a het if they're finding Shabbos. But let's say, she turns the light on for everyone.
When it's lights go out, you mean?
Yeah, lights go out. She turns the light on. It's a problem. To benefit. Now you didn't even tell her. People think, okay, fine, I heard you're not allowed to tell a guy. What if the guy does it himself?
Yeah, but she wants light for herself, though.
So if she's doing it, that's exactly what we're about to learn. Beautiful.
No,
Okay.
So what about the iron thing or the cleaning? She wants to advance with her work.
Ironing is not for herself. Ironing is just for you. Just she's deciding to do that now. She doesn't have to do it on Shabbat. You're saying at all. She doesn't have to work one stitch on Shabbat. She just has to make sure that things get done.
Yeah.
But she has to work every day in your home. No, she doesn't. She could stay in her bed the whole day.
could if she chooses to, but I mean.
But you just,
what's the difference between that and you know?
And what? You're giving a car to a mechanic, and then he happens to do it on Shabbat, but he could have chose to do it any other day.
Yeah.
I don't know, because a cleaning lady usually, like, she's supposed to work for you today. She's not supposed to stay in a room the whole day, right?
Yeah, if she finishes whatever she needs to do,
she's free.
What she wants.
Right, but the point is that since there's clothing to be ironed, she's not finished whatever she has to do today.
Well, that's her choice on her day. Same thing with the mechanic. I give the mechanic my car to work on it, and I didn't get to it because I was too busy, caught up. I'm going to finish it on Saturday. Oh, no, don't do it Saturday. I'll wait another week. You know, if that's your choice, you want to do it on a Saturday, it's your choice.
I hear. Fine, if it's such a setup, then maybe it's mutter for her to do it. But I'm not so sure, because if it's in your house, then it might look like you told it to her. Let's see the sugya a little bit. A guy that just give me 1 second, if you don't mind. There's no pause button there, right? No, there's no. Just I'm not sure.
Suppose you want to take it?
You?
No, my
Your wife's gonna let you go?
yeah, let's see if America lets us go.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. A guy that lit a ner, a light. So the Jew can benefit from the light. He may. The Imbish for the Israel, but if he did it for the Jew, asur. Okay? If he does it for himself, you could benefit from the light. If he does it for the Jew, you can't. Nach mile mayim. Let's say he filled up from a bore, from a well which is in private property. Right? A lot of wells themselves are the Rishut Yachid. He went down and he brought it out into the Rishut Rabim. So he just carried. He did a malacha. So could you benefit from the malacha that the guy just did? So if he did a lahashkot behemto, to feed his animal, and then he has leftovers, mashkeach harav Yisrael, then the Jew can give to drink to his animal. Im bishvil Yisrael, asur. But if he did it for the Jew, it's asur. Okay? So that's the general rule is, who did he do the act for? Did he do it for the guy, or did he do it for the Jew? If he did it for the guy, then you can use the leftovers, you can benefit from what he did. But if he did it for the Jew, it's asur. Asan achri kevesh lered bo, yored acharav Yisrael. If he built a little ramp to come down from the boat, from the ship onto dry land, the Jew can use it. But if he built it for the Jew, asur. There was a story with Rabbi Gamliel and the Zekanim. Says the Mishnah, they were traveling on the ship, and they were able to depart the ship because they already knew that they were in the tchum of Shabbat. When Shabbat entered, they were already within the tchum of the city, because he had the Gemara says that Rabbi Gamliel had the binoculars, yeah, and he was able to tell where they were. So he knew that they were within 2,000 amot of the city. Otherwise, if you're not, and you came out of your tchum, then you're not allowed to move more than 4 amot. You have to stay the whole Shabbat. But he knew that he was within the tchum, so he's allowed to move around in the city. But the problem is, how am I going to get off the ship? So there's a guy there that built a makeshift a kevesh, also nachli kevesh, which is a malacha. Later, but to go down. The Arduba Rabbi Gamliel was Zekanim, and Rabbi Gamliel and Zekanim used it, and they went down. So the Gemara says, why do we have to give so many examples? If the guy lights a candle, if the guy carries the water out, and if the guy builds a ramp. I get the point. The point is, if the guy did the malacha for himself, you could benefit. If the guy did the malacha for you, even though you didn't ask him to do it, you're not. Give one example, and that's all. So the Gemara says, if you would say the case of Ner, I would say, Ner, I understand why I'm allowed to use the Ner of the guy. You ever heard there's like an organization call themselves this? Ner le'elef. Ner le'elef. Ner le'echad, ner le'meya. A candle for one is a candle for 100. So therefore, it's not. You don't have to worry that the guy is going to come and increase more. Oh, you also want to use it? I didn't realize. Here, let me add some because it's already done. It's good enough. Avol mayin, but in the case of the water for the animal, ligzer, you should make it. Maybe there's a gzeira that the chachamim will make it as follows. If the guy sees that the Jew is going to use it, bishvil Yisrael, maybe the guy will increase the amounts for the Jew. He'll say, once I'm getting it, I'll just get for you too. So therefore, maybe over there you're not allowed to do it. That's why the Mishnah had to tell you, no, it's okay. If the guy took it out for his own animal, the Jew now can benefit from this. The kevesh lamali. So why do I need the third case? Because that case had the story. We wanted to bring a story l'halacha l'maaseh with Rabbi Gamliel and Zaken. Tonu Rabbanon. Nochri shaliket astavim machla achlav Yisrael. A guy that was ripping out grasses for his animal. The Jew is allowed to let his animal come and eat from the leftovers there. The Imbishvili said, but if he did it for the Jew, asur, then it's prohibited. If he filled up the water for his animal, same thing like our Mishnah, the Yisrael could do it. The Imbishvili Yisrael asur. B'amed dvarim amurim, says the Braita, she'ein makiro. Aval makiro asur. The Gemara says, but if you know him, if he's your friend, this guy, you know this guy, then even if he did it for himself, you're not allowed to benefit. Oh, a new Yisur over here. Everything we said in the Mishnah, that if he did it for himself, you're allowed to use it, as long as he didn't do it for you, that's only as long as you don't know him. But if you know each other well, then you're not allowed to benefit, even though he did it for himself. Says the Gemara, Eini, is that so? A person's allowed to stand his animal right over grasses on Shabbat. Avalo al gabe muktzeh b'Shabbat. But not over muktzeh on Shabbat, because we're worried that he might take it with his hands and give it to him. So, what's going to happen? You're not allowed to rip out grasses on Shabbat, right? There's an Isur min Torah of Klisha. So people are not going to make that mistake and say, oh, my animal's right over these beautiful grasses. You know what? I'm just going to take out some grasses. Because it's an Isur min Torah. But when it comes to Muktzah, let's say you have grasses that are already detached from the ground, but they're Muktzah, because they were never designated for animal fodder or anything like that. Just you happen to come to a field, you see grasses that are not attached. A whole bunch of them. So they're muktzah. So that we get worried that muktzah is the Rabbanan. People won't be so careful with muktzah and they might move it with their hands. So therefore you're not allowed to bring your animal to stand in front of such grasses. Because you might come to move the grasses around, to set them up properly in front of your animal. Okay? So what do we see from here? So therefore, what's the Gemara saying? The Gemara is saying that the Gemara is asking a kasha on the Braita. The Braita said what? that if the goy ripped out the grasses on Shabbat, then the Jew is allowed to feed them to his animal, right? As long as he doesn't know the goy. What the goy ripped out of the ground on Shabbat, it's very nice. He did it for himself, so Amir La'akum, there's no issues. But they're muktzah. And here we see clearly that you're not allowed to even stand your animal over muktzah items because you might come to move them. So have the Braita let. So the Gemara says, the kohen lo ba'apa. The ozlihi ve'ochla. When the Braita said that you're allowed to feed your animal from these grasses, we're speaking about that you're standing in front of it, and you're making sure it doesn't move anywhere. And the animal went by itself and went from the grasses. But you're not standing near the grasses. So therefore, you don't have to worry that you might move the grasses. So basically, you're not near the grasses, and the animal goes to the grasses. As long as it was ripped out by the guy for his own benefit, you can allow your animal to go there because you're not going to get near the grasses. Omar Mar, Bamedvar Mamurim. Now we're going to the second half. She'em Makira, if you don't recognize him. Avo Makiro Astur. But if you know him, it's Asur. Rabbi Gamliel Makiri Hava. Rabbi Gamliel knew the guy because he was traveling with him on the ship. And yet it says that if he that the guy made this ramp and Rabbi Gamliel and this Kedim used it. Omar Abaye Shalei Befon of Hava. So now what's the whole shash? The whole problem is, Abaye understands that the problem is that if you know him, he didn't just do it for himself. He's your next door neighbor. So when he did it for his own animal, he did it for you too. So therefore, it's part of the Yisur of benefiting from when it was done for the Yisrael. So therefore, the Gemara asks in the story of Rabbi Gamliel and the Zakanim, that Rabbi Gamliel and the Zakanim, he knew the guy. So the guy was doing it for him too. So Abaye says, no. When he built it not in front of Rabbi Gamliel. If Rabbi Gamliel would have been standing there when he built it, and he knows Rabbi Gamliel, so every time he's banging in the nails, he's doing it for me and you, Rabbi. So he's doing it for the Jew. But it could be he knew Rabbi Gamliel, but Rabbi Gamliel was in his room or somewhere else on the ship. And therefore, when he built it, he didn't have the Jew in mind at all. Rava says, "Afilu tema b'fonav," even if he did it right in front of him. Rava says the only problem of when he knows you in that Braita is when he knows you and he might increase and do more for you. But if it's one candle for one is a candle for all, like one ramp for one is a ramp for all, there's nothing that he can add. So therefore, the Jew is allowed to benefit from the malacha that the guy did, even if the guy did it, knew him, even if he did it in front of him. Okay? Abaye held that the chash of the guy is because perhaps we're worried that he did it for the Jew. Not perhaps he may come to add. But we're worried about the fact that he did it for the Jew. So Abaye says as long as he wasn't in front of him, he didn't do it for him. Rav is worried that he may come to increase. So there, the criteria is always not if you're doing it in front or you're not doing it in front. Is it could you add, could you increase or not? So the Gemara says, Meisvei, they asked the kasha from a brayso. Because it says in the story of Rabbi Gamliel, the braytas adds to the story. Rabbi Gamliel said the reason why we could use the ramp because we did it when we weren't in front of him. So you see like Abaye, not like Rava. Rava said it had nothing to do with being in front. It has to do with the fact that you can't add more to the ramp. The ramp is already ramp kevesh le'echot kevesh le'meya. So the Gemara says, Eima hoyil v'astoy neir bay. This is what Rabbi Gamliel meant. He didn't mean to say it's mutter because he did it shaloi b'fanenu. When he added those words and he said he did it not in front of us, that wasn't his point. He just was stating the facts. When we weren't here, look at this. The guy built this when we weren't here, so we can use it. Not because we weren't here, we can use it. He just happened to state that. And the main point was because he made it for himself. And there's no reason to believe that there's no way that he can add anything. Toshima, the Gemara asks a kasha from a Mishnah in masechet Machshirin. There it's talking about a bathhouse that is used by the goyim on Shabbat, and it's heated up by the goyim. Now, the Jew wants to come Motzei Shabbat, and he wants to enjoy the heated waters that were heated on Shabbat. Okay? So normally, by the way, you're not allowed to enjoy the benefits of a goy on Shabbat, like we said before, if it's done for you. And even on Motzei Shabbat, you have to wait. How long? Bichdei sheyasu. The time that it takes to do that. Because let's say you say, oh, the guy did it for me, I'm not going to let's say he heats up a thing of water for you. You walk into the house, Maria comes over, you say, oh, you look so thirsty, here. She turns the fire on and she heats up. Goes to Malachat Shabbat. She makes a tea for you. You're not allowed to benefit from the tea. Now, after Shabbat, you can't let's say it's right before the end of Shabbat. You can't benefit from the tea either. Because if you do, then you're also benefiting from the Isur Shabbat, because you don't have to wait another 20 minutes to heat it up. Right? So you are benefiting from the Shabbat. So what you have to do is you can't benefit from that until it takes the time to heat it up. So then you didn't really gain anything, because I could have just heated it up myself after Shabbat. Let's say it takes 10 minutes to heat up the water, you have to wait those 10 minutes. Then you can drink the tea. So the Mishnah says, there was a city that Jews and Goyim lived there, and they were using it on Shabbat, and it was heated up on Shabbat. If the majority of the people who use it were Goyim, the Jew can use it right after Shabbat. Why? Because why they do it? They did it for the Goyim. So therefore it's not considered like they did it for the Jews at all. Okay? But if most of the people that live in the city are Jews, so then why did they heat up the water on Shabbat? For the Jews who liked coming on Motzei Shabbat. Right? There's a mitzvah we learned last week to heat up water on Motzei Shabbat and use it for any purpose, to drink it or to wash yourself. On a base. So you have to wait. So the Jew can't benefit from the hot tubs and the bathhouse on Motzei Shabbat, if it was heated on Shabbat, only after the time that it takes to heat it up. It takes an hour, so you have to wait an hour, then you can go. Okay. Now, the problem is like this. Even if he did it for the Jew, we said before, ner le'echad, ner le'meya. Right? So, he did it in one shot for everyone in the city, even though the majority are Jews. But what he heated up was one for everyone. So there's no way that he could add more heat for the Jew. What are you going to do? Oh, for the Jew, I'm going to add more heat? It's one heated pool for everybody. So why does the Mishnah say that the Jew is not allowed to benefit from those waters until he waits for an hour, the time that it takes to heat it up? So the Gemara says, Hatam kich mechamimi adaita derub mechami. So therefore, it's different. Because there, the majority was the Jews. So it wasn't like he was doing it equally for himself. He was doing it primarily for the Jews. So if the guy does it for the Jew, even though there's some goyim that will benefit, but primarily it's for the Jew, then it's asur, even though it's ner le'echad, ner le'meya. But when we said that Rabbi Gamliel was not worried, Rav's Shita in the Mishnah, because ner le'echad, kevesh le'echad, kevesh le'meya, that's only when the guy did it for himself. So even if the guy knows the Jew, and he knows that the Jew is going to benefit, he's like, and he's a little happy about it because he's his next door neighbor, he's being a good Samaritan, so I'm happy to build it for you too, Rabbi. That's also is not an issue if it's kevesh echad, kevesh lemeya. But if it's primarily for the Jew, which is what they did in that city, because it was, let's say, 80% Jews that were using it Motzei Shabbat. So they were heating it up for the Jews. That's what they were doing. Then it's asur. Okay. Toshima would be a raya ner hadoluk.
So until when can you not use that pool?
Until. Right.
So I mean, is it?
Because then you.
Let's say it takes an hour to heat up the pool.
Right. So if I wait an hour, yeah.
An hour right after Shabbat comes out.
Yeah.
Shabbat comes out at 9.
10.
Even though you were planning to go at 10 o'clock, you have to wait till 11.
No.
Or, it's
No.
1 hour after Shabbat.
Because the point is that if I go anywhere before 10 o'clock and it's already hot, if I would have done it myself, I would have turned it on at 9 o'clock, it would have taken an hour, right? So I'm gaining now that I'm going in at 9:55, 5 minutes early I can go in. So the guys, I'm benefiting from the guy's malacha. So he made me gain. Once he made me gain, it's already part of the Yisur, because next week I'll tell him to do it.
Technically, you cannot turn it on at 9 right after Shabbat comes out, because you have to travel there for 30 minutes, for example, to turn it on. Or is it not that technical?
Yeah, it's not that technical. Oh, 1 second. You're saying that should enter the time of B'chtei Yasu, because I have to go there, B'chtei Yasu. Does B'chtei Yasu take into the account of traveling time? I don't think it does. No.
Just right after Shabbat.
You're saying because L'maisa I couldn't have done it for an hour and a half, because it takes 30 minutes to get there. So I did benefit. I don't know the answer. It's a very good question. I have to look it up. It's a very good question. Because at the end of the day, you are benefiting from the guy, because I would have only gotten, it would have been ready at 10:30. So now that the guy did it, and I go in at 10 o'clock, I'm getting a half an hour. So that's it. I hear. Usually B'chtei Yasu is the melacha itself.
We can take each case to someone.
I can do it myself. It might be because we're in a town already. What? We can't what?
No, I'm saying, what if the guard lives there and he just turns it on right after Shabbat?
You could call him up. You're saying there's a lot of ways you could get it done earlier. And let's say you couldn't. Here, he did it. No, but the point is that he could do it. Right? The guy could do it, and you would be able to benefit. That might be enough.
The guard could have went half an hour before Shabbat to go there, and then Motzei Shabbat he turns it on. Kind of,
Right. The guy could have turned it on Shabbat. Okay. So, Toshima. Let's bigger right here. Ner adolek b'misibo. Im roiv nocher mutar l'shtamesh l'ora, v'im roiv Yisrael asur. Mechza asur. You have a candle that's lit by a party. A group of people are eating. So most people, they're goyim, you could use it. But if imrov Yisrael asur, mechza asur, if it's half-half, so then it's asur. Now, the problem's like this. When the majority are Jews, so then it's like the guy that knows you, right? He's doing it for you also. Because the majority are Jews. And it says here that the Jew is not allowed to benefit. Why? Ner le'echad, ner le'meya. The guy is doing it for himself as well, and he can't increase, he can't add any more light. Once you put on one light, it's good for everybody. So why is it a problem? So the Gemara says, Hasam nami kimadliki, there also when they light it, they're lighting it for the majority, for you, for the Jew. That's why it's asur. Since the main purpose of lighting was done for the Jew, then therefore it's going to be asur, even though you can't add and increase. And therefore, that's why when it's half-half, that's why it's asur. Because since you don't know who the guy did it for, so it's possible that he did it for the Jews, therefore it's asur. Shmuel Avin Toran. Shmuel visited the house of Avin Toran, Avin from Toran. A guy came and he lit a light, a candle. Adrinu Shmuel Apei. So Shmuel turned his face away, so he shouldn't benefit from the or. Because it wasn't clear why he did it. Okay? What he did it for. Given the chazir the ice ishtav kakari, then Shmuel saw that the guy brought a little paper, a contract to read. He did it for himself. So he turned around back towards the light, and he was able to benefit, because it was clarified that he did it for himself, and that's mutter. So, just to wrap up the sugi over here, Anochi that does a malacha on Shabbat, and he did it for himself, and he cannot increase more. He doesn't need to increase more. Like, that's mutar. That's mutar. If the main reason why he did it was for himself, then even though he knew the Jew, might have in mind a little bit too, it's going to be mutar as long as he can't increase and do more. But if it's a melacha that he could increase, like drawing water or ripping out grasses, then it's only going to be okay if he did it for a Jew, that he did it for himself, and the Jew that's there, he doesn't know the Jew. If he knows the Jew, we're worried that he might come and add. Okay. Hadron aloch kol kisvei. We're starting the 17th perek of Shabbat. Let's do it for a few minutes. It says the Mishnah, Kol hakelim italim b'Shabbat v'taltotein imahen. All the kelim can be moved on Shabbat, and their doors with them. Which means, Rashi says, all the little kelim that have covers or doors, like cabinets and things like that, you're allowed to move them on Shabbat, and their doors with them. Even though the doors came off. Since the doors are going to be put back on, and even though you're not allowed to put them back on Shabbat itself, but since they're destined to get back onto the keli, so we still view them as part of a keli that's mutar to be moved on Shabbat, and you can move it on Shabbat. They're not comparable to the house, to doors of homes. The doors of homes are muktzah. Why? Because the doors of homes, even if they come apart, are going to be put back on the home. And the home is not made as a keli. It's not a keli because it doesn't move around. It's going to just stay in one spot. And therefore, the door of a home is muktzah if it comes apart. It's not from the prepared, it wasn't prepared to be moved. It was prepared to be part of the home and not move and stay in one place. Fine. Now the Mishnah says, Notel Adam kurnos lefatzeh bot hagozin. Now we're not sure what these items were really designated for. The Gemara will speak about that. But let's get the cases first. A person is allowed to take a hammer, lefatzeh bot hagozin, in order to crush, to smash walnuts open. Kardom, he can take an axe, lachtoch bo et hadvela, to cut. Again, we have eagle shell dvela, we have this fig cake, it's all over Shas. These very, very large fig cakes. They were dried. They were very hard to cut pieces. You needed a very sharp thing. He's using the axe over here to cut a piece. Megera, a sword, lagor bo et hagvina, to slice off pieces of a big thing of cheese. Magrefa, or like a magrefa is like a how do you say magrefa in rake? Ligrof bo et hagrogorot, to rake out from a barrel dried figs. Et a rachat is a very large shovel that they used, big it was like a shovel pan that they used to winnow. To winnow the winnow means to throw them up in the air, the grain. Bet hamazleg, or the pitchfork. Latet alav the katan. For permitted usages as feeding a katan. Now, why would you need a pitchfork to feed a child? Meaning the child needs help. He can't eat by himself. So there's different circumstances. Let's say he's across a little river. He's far away from you. So you need a long thing, so you use that to give him the food. Et akush, Veta kirkar. Kush is it's part of the utensils that you use for spinning threads. Et kirkar is like a little stick which they used. It was a sharp little stick to separate the threads in the weaving process. And what do you want to use these things for? Litchov bo, in order to pierce into strawberries or fruits and to eat them like a little toothpick. Machat shel yad. Person's allowed to do all these things. He's allowed to take a needle that they use for sewing. Litol bo et hakotz, to remove a splinter in his flesh. V'shel sakayim, and a large needle which they use to sew like large sacks. It's a much larger needle. Liftoach bo et hadelet, in order to open up a door if you lost the key. You have to go?
I do.
Okay. I'm going to go for another 5 minutes because we're so behind. Okay? So no problem. So the Gemara says like this. Kol hakelim nitalin v'af al pi shenitbarku b'Shabbat. The Mishnah said, "V'lo miboy b'choil." So it's mashma in the Mishnah that if they came apart on Shabbat, then it's going to be mutar. Right? Even though they came apart on Shabbat, it's going to be mutar. But if they came apart on Friday or on Thursday, for sure you're allowed to move them on Shabbat. The Mishnah says, even though they came apart on Shabbat, it's still okay. Really? Even though they came apart, Thursday it's going to be better? It says the Gemara Adrab. B'Shabbat muchanin al gabi aviyan. On Shabbat, if they came apart, at least when they entered Shabbat, they were riding on their fathers, which means they were prepared because of their fathers. Meaning, at the beginning of Shabbat, this door was part of the keli, so it was already mutar. So even if it comes apart, fine. But if it was before Shabbat, when Shabbat entered, it wasn't even attached to the keli, that should be more asur. B'chol ein muchanin al gabi aviyan. So the Gemara says, Amar Abai Hachikam. This is what the Mishnah meant. Kol hakelim nitalim b'Shabbat v'dal totein imahen. The afal parku b'chol nitalim b'Shabbat. All the kelim can be moved on Shabbat, and their doors as well. Even though they came apart in the weekday, they can be moved on Shabbat. So the word afal parku is not going to the word Shabbat. The word Shabbat, afal parku on Thursday. Okay, that's the chiddush. Tanu Rabbanan, delet shel shida v'shel teva v'shel migdal notlin aval lo machzirin. A door of a little wagon, or a little box, or a little cabinet, closet, you're allowed to remove it from its hinges. You used to stick it into the ground. Aval lo machzirin, but you're not allowed to put it back in. Okay, move it out of its hinges. You can't bring it back. The door of the chicken coop, lo notlin v'lo machzirin. You're not allowed to do any of them. Okay? Bishlam I understand why you're not allowed to do anything. You're not allowed to take it out or put it back, since it's attached to the ground. So yesh binyan bekarka. So therefore, it's going to be subject to the melacha of building kelim into the karka. And yesh stira bekarka. And you're also destroying, that's another melacha, destroying a building, kelim that are attached to the ground. These are all kelim that are not attached to the ground. And therefore the Braita said that there's a difference between taking them out of their hinges or back. My Kostavar, what does he hold? If he holds that there is a problem of building even in kelim, things that are not attached to the ground, there's also binyan. You're also not allowed to do binyan. So then, yesh stir bekelim. And there's also stir in kelim. If you tell me you're not allowed to return it, why are you not allowed to put it back in? Because you're building. So then there's also a problem of destroying in kelim. You shouldn't be able to remove it. The e ain't stira bekelim, and if you're not allowed to, if you tell me no, there's no problem removing it because there's no stira bekelim. In kelim, since it's not the ground, there's no melacha of destroying. So then there shouldn't be a melacha of building kelim either. They go hand in hand. So why is it asur to put it back in? Really, the Tana holds that there's binyan b'kelim and there's stira b'kelim. So why does he allow you to take it out? You're destroying the kelim. V'shenitlu ka'omar. It means if it was taken out, you're not allowed to return it. So how do you read the Braita? Notlin avalom machzirin. If it was taken out, then you're not allowed to put it back in. Amalei Rava shtei tshuvot badar. I have two responses. First of all, it doesn't say if it was taken out. It says you may take it out. So how are you interpreting the words you may take it out to mean it was taken out? The odd, my avalom machzirin. What does it mean? But you're not allowed to return it. What do you mean avol? Avol means but. But means there's nothing that you were allowed to do before. Abaye is saying you're not allowed to do anything. It just means it was already taken out. So what do you mean? But you may not put it back. And what could you? What could you do? You can't do anything. Really, he holds there is no binyan. There's no problem. So why are you not allowed to put it back? And the reason why it says the reason why you're not allowed to put it back is because we're worried that when you put it back, you're not just going to put it back into the hinges. You're going to attach it so well to the hinges with pegs and nails. And then you're going to complete the keli, and there's a different isser. Makeh patish. Binyan, it's not. Building, it's not. Building is only with things that are attached to the ground. But creating kelim, makeh patish is an isser. So therefore, to take it out, destroying is not a problem in kelim. But returning it, we're worried that he might complete the keli in a way that's called makeh patish and be over on a malacha, and therefore it's isser midrabanan. Chazak Baruch. We'll continue this suyat the next suyat.